Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Crossover. Starring Josh Johnson and Chris McGill. Featuring Christina Thorson. And of course, you, the Instagram live chat. Now, sit back and enjoy this week's edition of The Crossover. Powered by Card Ladder.
All right. We're talking about Luka being traded to the Lakers, but first...
You want my take?
Yeah, but warm us up with...
What happened, yeah.
What happened how we all were on opposite schedules.
Yeah, so I went to bed early last night. I was tired, and I woke up to, like, Christina messaging me about Luka and Maxey, and I was like, what's happening? And so I started to dig in and figure everything out, and then, like, 6 hours later, I realized, man, they're probably asleep because they were probably up all night researching this and dealing with it, so we didn't even chat for, like, 15 hours about it. So this is like us figuring it out together right now.
It is. You've said you've taken in a few podcasts. Is that right?
I listened to Bill's pod. I listened to the Athletic pod. They brought on the Mavs guy, Jason Gallagher. So I've listened to a few, yeah. And then all of Twitter, all of Instagram, obviously.
Yeah. All right, so let's start with this. Last night, the Lakers beat the Knicks. Anthony Davis sat out. No surprise now.
Was he even there? Because I thought I saw somewhere that he didn't travel with the team last night.
Yeah. He was already hurt, I think, from last week. But it was weird that he wasn't there and they weren't talking about it. It felt like that was part of it.
And the Lakers are 28-19 in the 5th seed and playing well. They're 8-2 in their last 10. Let's just start with the fact that the Lakers were playing well.
Yeah. And he didn't play last night, and they still won by 12.
And they still beat one of the 3 best teams in the East by 12. And Dorian Finney-Smith has become a nice rotation player. And Vincent is back and playing. And Redick is, he's got 40, 50 games under his belt now. So this is a trade that's interesting to me because, and I want your reaction to this, Josh, as a LeBron fan. This trade is interesting because I think the Lakers are right there as constructed before this trade. I think they were a team that could easily win a few rounds in the playoffs and get into the finals.
Yeah, one of the takes I keep hearing is like the Mavs are doing this for now and the Lakers are doing this for the future. I see it where the Lakers are probably doing it. The Lakers probably looked at this and they're like, holy crap, we have to say yes. We can't really even contemplate anything. But now that they've said yes, they're like, oh shit, we're actually still pretty good. I think we can still make a run because they are adding Luka to the team last night. The thing that we're going to talk about today is like, how does it work with Luka plus LeBron? Because we've talked about this a bunch. These are like the 2 guys that play the most similarly, in my opinion, and that are in the top 5, 10 or whatever they are all time. And it's just going to be very interesting. Are they just going to like switch off? I don't know.
I think there's a certain honor that Luka is now the recipient of because you can sort of watch how LeBron picked Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh as the guys that he would go to win championships with during his first championship stretch in Miami. And that's a little bit that downplays like the fact that Wade was already a champion and like already an MVP caliber player. But like that was the first players that LeBron sort of handpicked to do historic things with. And then he handpicked Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving and the team that got assembled in Cleveland. And now that's really starting to become more of a LeBron vision in terms of this is a title team that he picked. And then the Anthony Davis, that was just complete GM at that point, him orchestrating and organizing a team all the way down to like the Rondos of the world to win a title. And now Luka is like the 4th entry in that LeBron in the GM book, which is, I think, like it's a cool honor that now he's going to have a chance to play for championships with LeBron. Do you think that's how LeBron fans see this? Is this the 4th entry or is this something different?
That's interesting. I'm just not thinking of this in terms of like any sort of like mutual respect or like we've wanted to. I think these guys both just want to win basketball games, and they're probably thinking like, let's win a championship, and we can look back later on all this like torch passing stuff and the the legacy of the Lakers and all that kind of stuff. I think right now it's like, hey, we're both on the same team. Let's win some games because people are like, well, from the LeBron fan perspective, I think we don't see him as like, he's got 2 years left, and this is just sort of the torch passing. The media sees it that way, but we see it as like he was the best player in Madison Square Garden last night and made Karl Anthony Towns look like a bum, and they won by 12, and he's 40 years old. Like we still see the spurts of like he doesn't do it every night anymore. It's the consistency, but when he decides like tonight's MSG, I'm going to win, and if the spin on this is like he's got Luka to like take a lot of the burden off of him. And finally, he's got someone who's better than him on the team with a similar playing style. And now we might be able to finally see what can he do in spurts, and have Luka run the team. So that's how I look at it as a LeBron fan. How can we win this year?
Yeah, I like that. Okay. And the betting markets agree that this move substantially improved the Lakers' title chances. The Lakers' odds with FanDuel went from 40-1 to 20-1. Their odds doubled. So the market is reacting to this as if it's increasing the Lakers' chances of winning a championship. The market also might be baking in the fact that the Lakers still have a week to make moves before the trade deadline arrives.
Is it a week? The 9th?
A little bit less, yeah. Or the 9th is exactly a week, yeah.
Yeah.
So Sheik says it's now actually 16-1. So maybe that's some public money pouring in, but the market is clearly signaling that the Lakers got better, and the market is signaling that the Mavericks got much worse. The Mavericks were 20-1 prior to this trade, and that's with a bunch of guys hurt. Lively hurt, Luka out,
Kleba
out. I don't know. I don't know if Kleba's moving the odds that much, but Kleba out.
Because
okay,
we haven't even addressed the fact that he's coming with yet.
We will. Okay. So the Mavericks went from 20-1 to win a title as an injured team to sitting in the play-in to 40-1. So the market also clearly thinks the Mavericks got a lot worse. I want to say something and get your reaction on the fit of Luka and LeBron. I'll go, and then I want you to say what you think about the fit of those two players. And I already told you this take, but I have to do it again. Anytime I get to use a Frasier metaphor, I'm going to use it. In the TV show Frasier, he gets interviewed by a magazine writer about the theory of the interior design of his apartments because none of the furniture matches. And Frasier says that his theory of interior design is that as long as you get a bunch of really great pieces, they don't have to match. Put them in the room, and it will all go together, and it will all make sense, and it will all work. That was the theory of Frasier's apartment. That is now the theory of the Los Angeles Lakers lineup. Maybe these pieces don't match, but put some high-end pieces all together on the floor at the same time, and it will flow, and it will work. What do you think about the fit of Luka and LeBron, both as offensive engines, playmakers, ball dominant guys?
Did you listen to the Simmons pod?
Yeah.
There was only one thing that I took away from it that I'm thinking of right now. I think it was Rob Mahoney. I'm very sure because the other two guys aren't as smart as this. He said it's like having two supercomputers on your team at once, and I'm not sure exactly, but they're both supercomputers on the floor. They'll figure it out, and they're both smart enough to figure it out. So it's probably just something like that. They'll figure it out. It's like what you just said: buy the two most expensive things and figure it out. Because you messaged me, you didn't think, and I didn't either, Westbrook and Jokic would work, and somehow it's like their best duo on the team. So
yeah, Westbrook and Jokic have the most combined assists to each other of any duo in the league.
yeah,
it's crazy.
I mean, how many times? I'll answer. LeBron has said a bunch of times in passive aggressive tone, like I'm tired of bringing the ball up and being the point guard all the time. That's why he recruited Rondo, and that's why it worked that year. They won the championship. He didn't have to do all that all the time. So I mean, I would guess this would be his top choice of someone to play with, just knowing what I've heard from him in the recent past. I think a lot of people think he wants a pick and roll guy, he wants a lob guy. And that makes sense on paper, but I think he would probably prefer to have Luka. The thing is, they need a lob guy now, though.
Yes.
Because we have welcome to the. You're on my side now. We have Jackson Hayes, so let me just tell you, he's not very good.
Oh my God, that's
You're like quickly researching the Lakers roster, and you're like,
yeah. I wonder what's going to happen to Austin Reeves.
Yeah.
Is he going to fit? I saw that the Lakers are aggressively pursuing a center, which is a Mavericks fan. That's a novel experience to have a front office proactively trying to improve the roster. That's a little bit unfair. Nico Harrison actually was like on fire for the last 2 years with all his acquisitions and moves up until this one.
That's actually unfair. You're not a Mavericks fan.
Fair. I half of my wardrobe is suddenly gone.
So let's talk about that right now. Everyone wants to know what happens to you guys and the Dallas Mavericks. How does this work?
Yeah, in a crazy twist of fate, or maybe dumb luck, we had already begun moving out of Dallas a month or two ago. We still are technically residents there. We still have our apartment there until March, and we'll be down till April, and we'll be down there for the Dallas Card Show in March. For one last hurrah, but we had already begun leaving Dallas. So a lot of people had reached out and said like, "Oh no, you guys must be devastated. You moved to Dallas to watch Luka," which we did, and we were very grateful. We got to watch a finals run. You know, my brother came down for Game 4 and like got on the jumbo. I mean, we just had incredible memories from watching the Mavericks, and we had a great run. But like, we were already in the process of leaving, so that was just dumb luck or whatever. And we're relocating to Wisconsin. So that was already in the process. Maybe now we need to look at LA. No, we don't. We're not. We don't.
No.
Sorry, Gavin Newsom. You're gonna have to survive without us.
You're gonna have to survive on just Luka's taxes.
Okay. All right. So here's the thing. I have some crazy theories.
Well, can you first say that you've been annoyed at the Mavs already? So you're not like super angry about the Mavs departure. You're like moving on, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think that there was look, I had nothing to wear today. I had to bring out my Bears hoodie today.
Well, you can just wear your Nuggets ones until then.
Yeah.
I wore my Luka hoodie because
there you go.
I'm still and always will be a Luka fan.
Yeah, yeah, and it's no secret that Christina and I were just completely over Jason Kidd as a coach and the organization. So we're not really torn up over this. I do feel bad for lots of Mavericks fans. I mean, I was seeing like diehard Mavs influencer lifetime fan accounts on Twitter, like making polls like, "Hey MFFLs," like that stands for Mavericks fans for life. Hey guys, you know, here's a poll. Are you still Mavericks fans after this betrayal? And like the poll is like 70% no.
Oh my God. They lost 1 million Instagram followers this morning.
Did you hear that? The Mavericks lost 1 million Instagram followers.
I'm surprised it was just 1 million.
Someone screenshot it at 700K and it's gone down. Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, I'm literally surprised it only went down 100.
Yeah.
People like wrote "F-U Nico" in front of the AAC last night, like on the cement. People were ready to burn the arena down that they rent to host their games.
The funniest clip I saw was from a party in Dallas with hundreds of people, and the news circulated throughout the party, and people started screaming and panicking. They stopped dancing with each other. They started just somebody put in the comments it was like when the second tower got hit on 9/11. Yeah. I mean, the impact, I wasn't fully appreciative of how much this actually was going to and has impacted Mavericks fans. Like, they are in shambles. And Nico Harrison is the most unpopular person probably in the state of Texas right now.
People said that he's more unpopular than what's his name? Not Booth. that he killed Lincoln. Who's the guy who killed Kennedy?
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kennedy. I saw someone say that about the Kennedy thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, it's most distressing news to ever happen to Dallas, including JFK being shot there.
All right. Give me the theory, and then maybe the theory will start to unravel what the hell the Mavericks were thinking, because that's what we want to get to next.
And here's the thing. You're not going to get this theory anywhere else. All right.
I think I know what it is. Go ahead.
People are listening to like athletic reporters who are just, and I can see this so clearly because I've been following this for years, and I can just see who's carrying water for the front office, and I can see who's actually able to have an original thought. And there are a lot of people who are calling out that something doesn't add up here. You're not going to get this theory anywhere else, and this theory is out there. All right, so just understand that this is very extreme. Understand that I am not offended at all if there is skepticism or if people just think this is crazy. I totally get it. I'm not sure I completely believe it myself, but it's the best that I can come up with.
Turn on the TikTok camera, right?
What's his name? Kyle, turn on the TikTok camera. Okay.
I don't know what that is.
I'll just try to do this succinctly and keep it short. But understand that I've been watching the saga of Luka Doncic's career every year since every day, every hour of every day since 2018. So I'm uniquely positioned. Greg doesn't want me to let people know. Greg, I have to let him know. Greg, I have to let them know. All right. Starting this season, and most likely in response to a pretty embarrassing loss to the Celtics in the finals in 5 games, the Mavericks offense was retooled. Part of it was Klay Thompson coming in, but I think most of it was Jason Kidd thinking that he needed to make significant structural changes to win a championship. And the main retooling was taking Luka off the ball. And Luka was no longer a point guard. Luka was no longer bringing the ball up the floor. Luka was now turned into a perimeter player, a wing, who, would curl off screens, and instead of having the ball with 20 or 18 seconds on the shot clock, he's now touching the ball and there's 10 or 12 seconds left. He's not given the space and the spacing to sort of create and drive and kick. He's supposed to be like an ISO 90s wing player. It was a real disaster. And I hated it from the moment it started. Luka fans hated it. But there were good things coming from it. Luka had the best on-off of his career. He had the best net rating of his career, and he's playing with the best roster of his career. So I'm not saying it was a totally ludicrous idea, but I don't think it was the right way to play Luka. You have Luka. Why are you trying to turn him into, a 90s isolation wing post-up player? That's just like one of his skills and not even his best skill. I think that started a problem. I think Luka wasn't happy about that. I think his camp wasn't happy about that. And I think there are a lot of fans who weren't happy about it. And the Mavs record was underwhelming this year, despite the net rating stuff. Okay. Then there was the watershed moment. And I didn't realize this moment as it was happening, but in retrospect, it makes a lot of sense. And this is where things get crazy. Okay. But I'm just going.
Let me get my aluminum foil. Hold on.
Yes, bring out the tinfoil. On December 25th of all days, during their nationally televised game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, Luka sustains a non-contact injury. Okay? A non-contact injury. Now, here was what infuriated me at the time of the injury. Jason Kidd allowed 3 plays to occur before he called timeout to take Luka out of the game. 3 plays. He allowed the play that Luka got injured on to transpire. Then he allowed the Mavericks to come down because Luka got injured. Luka got injured on an offensive play. That play played itself out. Then the Wolves got the ball, came back down and scored. And then the Mavs got the ball and came back down and ran another play. And then timeout was called.
Alexander Walker on his knees like pregame shot.
Yeah. No, talk over me. I'm trying to help you out. I'm listening too.
Okay. So nobody questioned that the injury happened at that time. But I think that there might be more to this injury. I think that might have been a frustration moment. I think that might have been when Luka decided he was done with this team. And maybe he really did tweak something. I don't know how severe it was, but I know it was so weird that Jason Kidd didn't call timeout to take him out of the game until multiple plays had happened, almost as if Kidd was just ignoring him or saying, I know that this isn't as serious as you're making it out to be. The Mavericks announced after Luka sustained that injury that they would update his injury status in 1 month. When January 25th came around, there were no updates made to to Luka's injury status, and that annoyed a lot of us who were hoping and wishing that he would come back. Since that, here we go. Here's the play.
Go ahead. I'm not sure if it's the play. I think we're getting close.
Okay.
Keep talking.
Okay, so what I think happened is I think that there was a lot of discontent brewing because of how Jason Kidd was changing things, about how the team was no longer being centered around Luka, about how, this Jason Kidd just had a totally different vision and plan for this team that nobody else had. And I think Luka eventually reached a boiling point to where he said, I need to leave this team. And how can I leave this team? How can I do this in a way that is lower on the drama scale? And I think what he did was, I think there was some level of injury sustained, but I also think that Jason Kidd wasn't buying it. I think Jason Kidd not buying it is because he knew Luka was discontented and didn't approve of the direction this was going in. I think once Luka sat down after that play, the team knew it, Luka knew it. I think Luka went to the team and he said, I would like to leave. And I think Luka said, I want to go to the Los Angeles Lakers and I want to play with LeBron James. Okay, he handpicked that team. Here's the ultimate breadcrumb. The ultimate breadcrumb is Maxi Kleber.
The card ladder trade.
The card ladder trade, because the Lakers do not give a crap about Maxi Kleber.
Amen.
The Lakers, Maxi Kleber isn't even going to play this year.
Nope, he has a broken foot.
Maxi Kleber has a broken foot, but I think Luka said, you need to trade me to the Lakers. That's the only team that I'm willing to accept. And if you do that, then we can keep this under wraps, that any of this happened and that you guys ruined me for the Mavericks, and I'll spare you that embarrassment. And then I also think that Luka said, and I need my fellow, I need somebody who was born within 3,000 miles of me to be on my team. So you're going to send me and you're going to send my friend, and we're going to the Lakers, and whatever you can get from the Lakers, get it. You don't have to tip your hand. You don't have to make it seem like, you're desperate or anything. Like you set this up so you go to the Lakers and you say, hey, look, we really, we want to trade Luka. Well, he's fat, blah, blah, blah. Defense, blah, blah, blah. You go to the Lakers, try and make it as convincing as possible, get what you can out of them, but you need to trade me to the Lakers, or else I'm not signing the extension this summer and I'm leaving. So I think he got traded to the Lakers. I think that's how he got traded to the Lakers. I think that's why Kleber's the breadcrumb. Kleber got included because Luka required that his buddy, Luka has been with Kleber since 2018. Kleber and him have been buddies. They do content together for the Mavericks. They are buddies. They brought him. They went to the Lakers, and that's why people have lots of questions. Why did Nico Harrison only take Anthony Davis in a first-round pick, and he had to give up a second-round pick? Yeah. This doesn't make any sense. You could have created. Andy Bailey said it best. If you wanted to trade Luka Doncic, you could have created the biggest bidding war in NBA history. Right. You could have had every team knocking your door. You could have had Sam Presti serving up
rounders,
15 picks to you.
Yes. The Spurs could have offered 6 firsts. Castle,
Luka brought back a smaller return than DeJounte Murray. Luka brought back a smaller return than Rudy Gobert. Luka isn't even in his prime. Luka's 25 years old. He's about to enter the best stretch of his playing as possible. So that I've observed the discontent grow. I've observed it all happen. I watched the injury thing happen. That is my wild out there tinfoil take.
I have 2 responses. Okay. Let me, and one of them I need a quick answer from you. I don't want a long thing because I have another one. The first one is, were you guys starting to begin your separation from the Mavs because of those observations?
Yes.
Okay. Second, the take you just gave is the only plausible explanation there is. Even if I knew nothing, I didn't have inside scoops like you do with all the beat writers and everything. If I knew nothing, it's the only explanation. How could you possibly have, as the Ringer says, the fourth best player in the NBA, whatever? How could you have a top 3 player in the league and trade him without telling anybody? There's no other explanation. Like, because all these GMs and agents and players are texting whoever, and they're like, "Dude, we didn't hear anything. We would have been the frick. Like, I didn't even think of the OKC. They could have offered everything. The Spurs would have offered like 6 first rounders, 4 swaps, Castle, they would have offered half their roster.
Think about this. The Utah Jazz knew about this trade because they're a third party involved in this trade that had to take Jalen Hood Schifino,
Yeah,
and they took a Mavericks second round pick. Think about this. Danny Ainge and the Utah Jazz knew about this trade.
right.
Did Danny Ainge sit there with his thumb in his pocket and not offer Nico Harrison anything, knowing that he has a pile of trades of picks, and he has a pile of assets?
And
he could trade the whole Utah Jazz roster in like 10 first round picks because he's sitting on a stockpile over there too. Did Danny Ainge really not offer anything to Nico Harrison? Danny Ainge, the most ruthless operator in NBA GMdom, he didn't make any offer of no, not of course he did. Of course he did. And Harrison, so the Utah Jazz knew that this was happening. The Utah Jazz knew that this trade was going on. And Nico Harrison said no. And now there are stories coming out that says Nico Harrison has a really close friendship with Rob Pelinka, and they've been talking about this for a month. That makes sense. I think the timeline adds up on that reporting. And I think that there's the story here's where this is going to shift. This is what this is going to shift into. The Mavericks are getting obliterated, and Nico Harrison's getting slaughtered for making this trade. People are saying this is the worst trade in the history of sports. People are saying Nico Harrison made such a bad trade that everybody's first reaction was Shams got hacked rather than believe that the trade actually happened.
I heard a take that all of Twitter was hacked because they couldn't
All
believe
of
that.
Twitter. People thought that there was a Elon was being hacked, okay. So, wrapping this up, you're going to see a pivot over the next week, and it's already started, into the Mavericks changing the narrative. They tried to come out with the narrative that said, well, look, we're helping you guys, actually. We're making the team better, really. Nobody buy that. The market didn't buy that. The betting market didn't buy that. The fans don't buy it. So you're going to see a shift, and the Mavericks are now shifting the messaging into, we didn't think that Luka was going to sign the max extension.
Right.
We saw the teams were loading up. This is a quote from Harrison. He said, we saw teams were loading up to sign him once he became a free agent. We were worried that he was going to leave. You're going to see the messaging shift into that, shift into a blame on Luka. And the irony of it is that Luka is to blame. Really, Jason Kidd and the organization is to blame, but I am pretty confident Luka pulled these strings.
Why wouldn't they throw him under the bus sooner? Because, okay, let's say that Luka wasn't to blame and this is their new excuse. Then they could have waited till next year's trade deadline and gotten way more.
Yes.
They would have gotten way more.
Exactly. So what I think is, first of all, I think they felt like they could win now. So they didn't want to get into a standoff with Luka where Luka sits out for the rest of the year, because I think that was on the table. I think he could have done that. But I also think Nico Harrison thought that he could walk on water, because Nico Harrison, up until yesterday, was being heralded as one of the great GMs, and all the moves that he made, from the Kyrie gamble that he made to bringing in Najee Marshall and bringing in the trading for PJ Washington, trading for Daniel Gafford. I mean, he was making incredible chess moves, and he put together a finals roster a year after the Mavericks didn't even make the playoffs. I mean, it was incredible what he did. I think he thought his poop didn't stink, and he thought that if he just went to the Mavericks and said, I made this deal because I believe it's going to make us better, he thought everybody was just going to be eating out of his hand and said, oh, thank you, Nico. But he completely miscalculated the situation.
I also think because the Celtics won the championship last year, and people think, oh, like a strong team won, a defensive roster, they've got lots of talent spread out. Some of these GMs are starting to think, oh, this is the new. Every team prior to that won the championship over the last like 60 years, minus like the 2004 Pistons, you had to have one of the top dudes, and then you always surround the guy with other good players. That's how it always works. And so this guy's thinking, oh, I made some good trades. I can get a good return in Anthony Davis, defensive player. We can bolster our front line. We can be better on defense. We can do this. We can do that. But yeah, it's like the trade is insane. The craziest part of the trade isn't even just like the X's and O's of this year and the Anthony Davis part. It's that you're trading someone at 25. Like the Lakers auto smashed it because they're like, sure, we'll take the next face of our team for the next 10 years. Thanks for delivering us the next LeBron slash Kobe, Shaq slash Magic. Like, how can we say no to this? Anthony Davis is cool, but he's 31. And when LeBron leaves, are we really going to tell our fans that Anthony Davis and Austin Reeves is your future? Now they're done. They're like, wow, we don't have to do anything anymore.
That's so true. It's there's just so many things to say about this, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I think we have to pivot away from cards into sports analysis because this is the most fun we've had on a live.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's a rare opportunity where we both have.
Oh, let's talk about this. Let's talk about how our PCs have come together because we've been on opposite ends with the Suns, Mavs, and Lakers for a while. Now, what do? We are rooting for like one team now.
We are. There was always a sense. I mean, LeBron particularly would insinuate from time to time that there was a chance that he would play with Luka.
Luka said that LeBron's his favorite, and there's a tweet where LeBron says Luka's his favorite player.
Yes. And then there's the whole podcast with LeBron and Redick where they're going over Luka and what they like about his game and stuff. And then there's the Redick-Luka connection and everything. And I think that there was always a chance that this was going to happen. But I think like being recruited by LeBron, like I kind of started with, is it's the highest compliment a player can get, I think. It was very complimentary to Russell Westbrook when Jokic went to his front office and said, "Bring me Westbrook, I want to play with him," and that worked out really well for Westbrook. But we're talking about one of the two greatest players of all time going out and saying, I want this guy, and that's an aspect of this too we haven't talked about yet. There are two worlds. There's either a world where the Lakers did all of this without the knowledge of Clutch, without the knowledge of LeBron, and the Lakers just said, you know what, we're going to betray LeBron. We're going to go against everything we've always done with LeBron, even though we just drafted LeBron's son, even though we have prioritized LeBron and his role and his influence in this company. We're just going to completely turn away from all that and do a complete 180. That's one option. And we're going to do this without LeBron.
His head coach that he picked.
His handpicked head coach or the other option is that LeBron was completely compliant with this at a minimum, or even LeBron had a hand in bringing this to fruition and that LeBron completely is on board with this.
It's definitely the latter. There's no way he didn't know about it. The report that he was at dinner with his family and was like, oh my gosh, is insane. Because first of all, Anthony Davis is with his same agency, so he definitely at least knew something, unless this trade was, I don't know, man. Based on what you're saying, this trade has been, they know you're going to trade him to the Lakers. They know it's going to be Anthony Davis. Let's just figure out the timing closer to the deadline. Let's figure out how to make the salaries match up. I mean, Davis is probably the best piece you could possibly get based on a player like demanding to go to one team, Yeah. Davis is a pretty solid get back, but
as a Luka fan, I would have loved it even more if they could have kept Davis there.
Well, of course. That's just ridiculous. How could they even done that? They don't have anybody else. They don't have any contracts.
I saw a tweet that was along the lines of this. Think about all the teams who would say no if the Lakers went to them and offered Anthony Davis in a first-round pick. And people were like, would the Grizzlies trade Ja Morant for Anthony Davis in a first-round pick? No. And it got to, would the Houston Rockets trade Amen Thompson for Anthony Davis in a first-round pick? And people are like, no. I mean, Anthony Davis is all-time great player, but he was also in the perfect position for him, playing alongside LeBron, being able to be the number 2 guy next to LeBron. I think the Mavericks are going to be good still. I think when you look at a roster that has, let's see, Derek Lively's hurt, all the Mavericks are hurt, but when they're healthy, when you have Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford rotating at center, and you have Anthony Davis able to play the 4, it's not going to be very good spacing, but you can have 2 bigs, kind of like Cleveland, which is what Harrison sketched. Then you've got Klay Thompson, who really got screwed in all this because he said he came to Dallas to play with Luka Doncic. Then you've got Kyrie, who also is getting screwed by this because he had really bought into the vision of this team, and he really bought into Luka being his teammate and his comrade. But then you got Kyrie, and then you have PJ Washington. I mean, that's 6 players right there. Your 2-headed center and 4 other guys, 4 other starters. That's still a really good team, but it's also a team who just lost Luka and whose title odds went from 20-1 to 40-1. But I still think they could win a playoff round. I still think they're pretty good.
Davis is having a really good year too. I think he's 3rd in PER right now. He's actually having a really good year. But yeah, I don't know. I think you gotta just, if you're LeBron and the Lakers, you gotta just take Luka and let's just figure it out tomorrow. Let's go. And like you said, they gave themselves. They probably based on what you're saying, they probably were like, yeah, we're gonna need him a week before. If you guys want to hold out, we can't do it the day before the trade deadline because we need to get it big. We're gonna need to go figure something else out. So let's do it a week before, make the announcement, and then we'll figure out how to get it big.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to say like one last thing about Mavericks fans. This is really brutal on Mavericks fans, partially because it happened so suddenly. Here's the Mavericks ethos up until this year. The Mavericks ethos was, we got Dirk Nowitzki in 1998. Yep. This guy played his entire career here. Yeah, he did get screwed in one of the NBA finals that was questionably officiated by Donaghy. And he did probably not get as much accolades and attention as if he played in a bigger market, but he did win an MVP. He did win a championship. He did win a finals MVP. The Mavericks did also like screw up that roster and blow up that roster after they won the championship. But you had this Dirk, perfect relationship with the fan base where he stayed with the Mavericks the whole time. Cuban was entirely loyal to Dirk. Cuban would do anything for Dirk. Cuban built a statue and put it outside of the arena for Dirk. This was the expectation. And then the baton was just seamlessly handed off to Luka, and Luka and Dirk overlapped for one season. Christina and I were in the building when the Clippers and the Mavericks played each other, and Doc Rivers gave the send-off to Dirk Nowitzki as Dirk and Luka were playing together on the Mavericks during Luka's first year. I mean, it was just this guy's taking the baton from Dirk, and now he's going to be a 20-year career at the Dallas Mavericks. And he's going to, he's not going to win 3 or 4 championships, but he's going to win 1, and the Mavericks are going to have another fairy tale ending with another superstar that has the perfect relationship with the team, and Cuban is complete. Cuban had quotes that he would divorce his wife before he let Luka go. But, and this is what's not widely understood, I think, by some of the fans, Mark Cuban gave up majority ownership of the team a year ago. Mark Cuban sold the team. Mark Cuban was removed from the board of governors as the Mavericks ambassador to that body by the Mavericks organization, replaced by Patrick Dumont. Mark Cuban is no say in the Mavericks anymore. And Mark Cuban's entire legacy as an operator in the NBA was moving up, trading with the Atlanta Hawks, and getting Luka Doncic. That was Mark Cuban's master plan. That was his legacy. That was the most important, significant, substantial thing that Mark Cuban did as an operator in the NBA, was drafting Luka Doncic and getting him through a trade. That was Mark Cuban's vision. Mark Cuban's entire legacy as an NBA owner is tied to Luka. There is not a chance that Cuban would have ever let Luka walk. But in the very short time period, once Cuban lost the team, things deteriorated. I'm no Mark Cuban fan, but I can say something nice about him. There's not a chance Mark Cuban would have let this happen if he had any sort of say in the matter. So to Mavericks fans, I am sorry that this happened to you guys. I'm sorry that it played out this way. I'm sorry that your GM is clueless. I'm sorry that you had an awful coach that you guys just couldn't get rid of. I always thought Kyrie would be the guy who could lead the rebellion to get Jason Kidd out of there, and he never did it. And too late. It was too late. Time waits for no man. Luka's entering the prime of his career.
The part the Mavs ownership / front office really underestimated if this was the move, assuming this wasn't like Luka forcing them to do it, is that they thought, oh, like even if they thought on paper our team got better, which is crazy, but let's just say that's their thought, they didn't calculate in the fact that we're trading our city's favorite player, and like people are going to be really, really pissed, and the morale of the team is just going to is just going to crash. You can't just trade away the face of your franchise, 25-year-old, someone that's supposed to be the next 15 years there. You can't just trade that player away and then expect, oh, the rest of the team just going to pick up the pieces and we'll be fine. You always work around that player. Okay, you said Ainge was involved in this.
Yeah. The Utah Jazz were the third team in this trade. Yeah.
You know this guy?
Yeah, there you go. That'll work.
That's a big guy we'll take.
Yeah, that would totally work. Look, thinking about this from a Mavericks fan's point of view, it would be even worse. I think this is the worst possible time you could have traded Luka, because if he won a title with you guys, then you have that. You can always like enjoy that. You can say we did this together. But trading Luka right before he's about to enter into a half decade of his very best playing years, trading him before you get to realize the potential of what he can bring to your team, trading him right after he just took your team to the NBA Finals, like trading him with all of that still in front of you, I think that's the most brutal part of it all. It's hard to even compare. It'd be like the Chiefs trading Mahomes before he won anything for them, but when you knew that he was about to win things. But you don't get to enjoy the future of your relationship with this player. It's just the worst. It's the worst possible crushing feeling I think you could have as a fan.
And the Lakers and Anthony Davis have this weird split where people are scrambling to figure out where does Anthony Davis fall in the line of Lakers big men, and you could call it a failure, I guess, but they won a championship, so AD's probably not too upset about it. He got the championship. He played with LeBron, played with the Lakers, which is like the opposite of what you're describing, where it's like they got everything but the championship, and then now it's just over. Walker Kessler is good. 11 points, 11 rebounds, 20.5 PER, 72% field goals.
Good rim protector, too.
What's his blocks per game? 2.4.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good. He'd work just fine.
Jackson Hayes sucks.
Yeah. No, Jackson Hayes. That's
not gonna work.
No, Jackson Hayes is not it.
Jason Gallagher, the Mavs guy, was talking about how he said the part that was frustrating him the most was that the Mavs front office had spent the last 3 years building a team around Luka with the drafting of Lively, the trade for Gafford, the rim running, the lobbing, the rim protection, the sort of wing defenders to kind of support him, the 3-point shooting, like everything, all these moves were around him. And then they trade him for Anthony Davis. Doesn't make any sense. Why would you? Now they're left with a team that looks like it has Luka built around it with Anthony Davis instead. And so now they have 3 7-footers and Kyrie. How's that going to work?
It's tough, and I love that roster. I think that roster was really nicely constructed around Luka, but once Luka started sitting out on December 25th, that team went to hell. That team was like 7-13 in the games that he missed. Like they weren't even competitive.
That's because of what I'm saying. I think that's because of what I'm saying, where it's like if you build a team around Luka and then you don't have Luka, now you have a team that's dependent on someone who's not there, and it's not going to work. DJ Washington was dependent on him.
Right.
Exactly. All those players.
That team was brilliant. It was the right team to build around Luka.
Dude, how much of the big brain theory that you have? You didn't even bring this part of up. I'll enhance your big brain theory, because your big brain theory goes back 3 months.
Yeah.
Luka probably said, "You know who I really like playing with? Dorian Finney-Smith. Go get him before I get there, and then I'll be real excited."
I know. You look at the timeline of Dorian Finney-Smith.
That trade was earlier than most. It's like a trade deadline trade, but they got him earlier, and they're like, "Okay, he's ready now. We're ready now."
100%. Luka's 2 favorite teammates have always been Dorian Finney-Smith and Maxi Kleber. Like
because
they brought him his comforts. He played with both of them for his entire career, but he also just really got along with it.
He also said, Dorian Finney-Smith is my guy, and I will be playing with him in the future.
Did he?
Like, a few months ago, he said that. Like, we will be on the same team again in the future.
Do you know what Finney-Smith's 3-point percentage is this year?
43.
No.
Is that what it is? I knew it was good.
Yeah, because it was first thought of like from the Lakers LeBron perspective, it was like, oh, this is perfect. All the guys. So basically, all the guys that the Lakers want to surround LeBron with are the same type of guys that the Mavs were trying to surround Luka with. It's the same profile: 3-and-D, spot up, rim running lobs, Davis lobs, Jackson Hayes lobs. That's what they do. Dorian Finney-Smith, 3-and-D guy. It makes sense. So then they're like, yeah, perfect. Now we got two of them. We literally have two of those guys now. This is insane.
Can I give you one last conspiracy?
I love conspiracy because I think yours is just spot on now. You might as well just keep it going.
Okay, well, I can never leave well enough alone, and this certainly will be ridiculed. This isn't even really my theory. I've more so seen other people floating it, but I'm going to embellish it a little bit from a Luka collector's point of view.
Well, we should get to collecting after this. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think this might lead us into it. We know that Adam Silver is panicking about the NBA's ratings.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. We know that David Stern probably, I don't know where David is buried. If he even was buried, maybe he's cremated. But if he's in the ground somewhere, I would check that gravesite to see if an arm has reached up through the ground, through the coffin's lid, to reach into the air and try to veto this trade, because David Stern would have found a way to veto this trade. David Stern vetoed a trade that would have involved Chris Paul going to the Lakers because of the disproportionate talent balance that would have created. And a lot of people think he was wrong for that. But Adam Silver has been floating ideas that have been making the rounds, such as shortening the quarters from 12 minutes to 10, just really panicking, really reaching. And I've had this belief for a while. I don't know if Adam Silver shares it, but I think the closest thing in the NBA to Caitlin Clark is Luka Doncic. I think they play the same. I think they have a very similar, charisma, showmanship. I think they love launching extremely long shots. I think they're both pass first, team friendly players who play the game in a way that people really like to see to some extent. Luka's also very heliocentric, more so than Caitlin. I think you can look at what a player like Clark, did for the WNBA. She's getting them ratings that are higher than NBA games in some instances. And I think the NBA said, how can we manufacture our Caitlin Clark? Well, no one's going to match Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark has her own story. She's her own phenomenon. Nobody will ever be what she is. But what could the NBA's impersonation of it be? And they could try and say, well, why don't we put Luka on the most storied, celebrated franchise that has produced the most all-time greats, that has almost this perfect baton passing lineage that goes from Wilt to Jerry to Kareem to Magic and Worthy to Shaq to Kobe to LeBron to AD. We can put AD in there. And now it gets passed to Luka. This is the biggest market by far in the NBA. This is the most glamorous market. This is the market the media loves. This is the market that the refs love. This is the market that the international fan base of basketball loves. Can we put our Caitlin Clark on that team? And can we pair him with the greatest player this side of the year 2000? Was there an engineering by Adam Silver? And then when you look at Nico Harrison coming out, Nico Harrison's like, yeah, me and Rob Pelinka were friends, and it goes back to my days when I was at Nike, and we just sort of got together and said, well, what if? I don't know, what if? As if we're buying that. Okay. So
defense wins championships, bro.
Defense. So that leads into the Nico Harrison is a plant conspiracy, where Nico Harrison was just doing the bidding of the NBA to try and move Luka to the Lakers to create a ratings bonanza and help resuscitate the league. I don't subscribe to that theory. That's not my theory, but I can see how those pieces get assembled. But you would have to believe that Silver and Harrison are conspiring on some insane level that I just don't think they're capable of.
Well, if that theory, I don't love this conspiracy. I think you just said you put it out in the world, but you're not with it.
Yeah.
if it were true, this is exactly why the NBA is struggling, because Silver thinks that he has to put a player on a specific team in order to make the league successful. We know that isn't the case. Caitlin Clark plays in Indiana, and it's working. It doesn't matter where they play. It doesn't like he thinks, oh, I need an American-born player to be in Los Angeles for the Lakers. That's the only way that people are going to watch our games. Dude, it doesn't matter where the player comes from. It doesn't matter where they play. If you market these players correctly, you'll be just fine. But he can't, and he's got to force his way to build Team USA in LA and New York, and that's the only way people are going to watch. Give me a break. I hate that theory.
No, great take. I know. I love that take. Trying to manufacture it rather than letting it just organically and naturally be, these are the best players. Let's market the best players. No, we have to, the marketing department has to move all these pieces around on the chessboard.
It's also because they're like, well, MJ was in Chicago. That's a pretty big city. I think that's why it was so successful. Yeah, well, LeBron was in Cleveland, Ohio.
Right.
And those were the highest rated finals of the last 15 years was when Cleveland was in the finals. It has nothing to do with, where they are. It's the storylines, it's LeBron, it's the superstars. Give me a break.
Agreed. I agree. Okay. I'm out of theories.
Cards.
What about the collecting aspect of this? First of all, does this how does this impact LeBron James' legacy? No, what is this? Does this mean anything to LeBron collectors?
The LeBron collecting chat is trying to figure that out. We're scrambling. We're actively scrambling. We're posting dual logo mans of LeBron and Luka. That's all we got right now. We're trying to figure that part out. I think that's the only route. That's the only creativity we have so far. I mean, I don't know. I've said it a bunch of times that Luka, to me, is the next LeBron in terms of style of play, sort of the heliocentric style that I think people – in theory, it doesn't sound good, but it actually works in the NBA because there's only 5 guys. Similar charisma, lots of similarities. They play similarly. So from my perspective, on the hobby side, it's interesting to see them on the same team and to have this kind of like passing of the torch. So that's interesting to me. It's probably way more that needs to be figured out on the Luka end because he's so young and he needs to win championships. He needs to win MVPs. Whereas LeBron is just sort of like, maybe I can squeeze one last one out. Maybe I can grasp at some random storyline of playing with Luka. Like these things are kind of on the edge. The real story is like, what does this do to Luka collectors, in my opinion?
Yeah, I think it's very, very complex. I think a lot of Luka collectors, myself included, were expecting a really deep, assuming the team was healthy by the time the playoffs came around. I think everybody was expecting the Mavericks to be like right there at the end. And they were there right there at the end last year. The Mavericks, I think, would have been my pick probably. I think it's close. I think the Nuggets are very good. I think the Thunder are very good. I think the Lakers are very good. I could see a handful of teams from the West getting to the finals. But I think the Mavericks, as the defending Western Conference champions and a roster that just got better, and Luka was going to be on fresh legs in the playoffs, I think they were my pick to go to the finals. So I think that expectation was built into a lot of Luka collectors, and now I don't think like everybody was binning Luka cards like crazy last night. Obviously, that makes sense. Like it's the Lakers, like Asian collectors, overseas collectors. This is the international team. Like I totally get it. I get the vision. I get why people are doing that, but I think an expectation realignment needs to happen now because the Lakers it's going to take time for these guys to figure out how to play together. They don't have that much time. They need to make some moves and they need to sort of rejigger this roster because Anthony Davis was a really important piece to this roster on both ends. And he's, like you say, he's third in player efficiency rating this year. Like that's a huge hole that's been created on that team now. I think like the expectations need to get readjusted. And I honestly think there's going to be some disappointments, I think, for Luka collectors because things were like, this year, this was going to be the expectations of this year were really high.
Yeah.
So I think that's tough.
Let me speak to those people. You guys got LeBron James next to you now. We got you. You'll be all right. We'll find a way. You got the refs on your side now.
Let's go.
You got more free throws coming your way.
Finally, the kid gets beat up during games.
You got LeBron. What do you think about the take that Luka's fat and that Luka wasn't working out in the offseason? The Mavs were fed up with that. Is that was part of their throwing Luka under the bus storyline, or what's that part?
I think being fat is underrated.
in general, I don't mean that part. I mean like the Mavs is part of their storyline. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I just think that's look. This is a little bit jaded, but I think the Mavericks organization was looking like, look, the marketing department huddled, and they said, "How are we going to pitch this? What's going to be the PR?" And I think they said, "Well, remember when Reggie Miller last year or 2 years ago? Remember when Reggie Miller said Luka looks fat and everybody glommed onto it? Let's just do that.
Nope.
Let's say Luka doesn't play defense and he's fat, and people will just go along with it.
Jokic is fatter.
Jokic is much fatter."
Here, I was watching this highlight of the last game he played for a Mavs, which if I'm a Mavs fan, I'm just like, the last time I saw him play was Christmas and I'm never going to see him again. What an absolute gut punch. He doesn't look, he looks like I mean, he looks fine to me. I don't understand it.
Yeah. Look, plus, look, people have different body types. Like, not everybody is sculpted and has the definition, but that doesn't alter the fundamental strength. Like, the guy's, he's a tight end. He's just a tank. You want him to have that size. Like, that's part of how he gets into the lane and creates contact and scores.
Well, that's what Russillo's take was that I did agree with. He was like, that guy could walk up the court smoking a cigarette and, gain 20 pounds, and I'll still take him on my team and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and goes the same for Jokic and for Luka. Like, if we just used the eye test and said who looks like the most sculpted athlete, we would completely miss part of the magic of what makes these players great. One of the Stephen A. Smith still does his Jokic can't jump onto a curb thing. Dude, why do you think Jokic never gets hurt? Why he play his there's a logic to the body composition. There's a logic to the play style. It all works together in concert. You can't turn Jokic into Dwight Howard's body without there being really weird and unintended consequences. He plays like a fat dude, and it works. It clears space. He can back anybody down. I mean, he's a tank.
I just I love this take of he is the first player ever with 5 first-team All-NBAs in his first 6 seasons, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that?
I don't know if he's the first.
Whatever.
Maybe Duncan.
Sure, whatever. But it's like this insanely made-up thing where it's like, how does this guy have 5 first-team All-NBAs and he's in the finals with this random team? He's in the Western Conference Finals with a far worse team, and someone in the marketing department has the nerve to go up to him and be like, I don't know, man, maybe cut down on carbs and lose some weight. And he's like, I think I'm okay. That's like telling Elon Musk how to go to space. Like, no, I think maybe hold your opinions. I'll figure it out. Thanks. And this idea that LeBron does cryogenic freezing chambers, so now Luka's good because he's going to show him. Do you think he didn't already know about all that stuff?
Right.
Like LeBron's going to show him how to step into it and plug it in or something?
LeBron's going to teach him about celery.
Yeah, I think this whole LeBron Luka passing the torch thing is overrated, and they're literally going to walk in the building together and be like, "Let's win some freaking games."
Yeah,
I
think they are. My favorite take on the Buckets podcast, the gambling podcast that discussed this, they were saying they were asking the different hosts, "Are you buying Lakers title odds right now?" And the one guy, Brandon Anderson, says yes, and he says it's as simple as this: if you're on the other side in a playoff series and you're going up against Luka Doncic and LeBron James, who honestly can say that they should believe they would win against those two guys? And he said maybe Boston, maybe OKC, maybe Denver. That's it.
Well, here's the thing. Luka is the most rested he's ever been in his life.
Yep.
And now LeBron's about to be the most rested he's ever been because Luka's going to take over a good majority of what he does.
Yeah.
You're going to have them both rested.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the idea that those two guys aren't going to just, and JJ Redick, those 3 guys that they're not just going to figure out how to start winning immediately is insane to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Redick is a cool piece to this too. I've long clamored for more of a cerebral coach to take the reins for Luka's career. And Carlisle was that. And Jason Kidd emphatically was the opposite of that. And now Redick is that again. And I think, and they've been teammates, there's a history there. I think it's a pretty cool match.
The over-under on how many days it is till you text me laughing about JJ Redick getting on Dalton Connect's ass is 1.5 days. 'Cause every single game, he just looks at him like, God, you fucking rookie.
For Mavs collectors who are thinking about maybe moving on from Luka, the market is strong for Luka right now, and I think it will cool off. I think this will settle in. I think people are excited and thinking about the possibilities, but I think it's going to cool off. And so I know some Mavs team collectors were like, I'm going to sell some Luka cards. Like, nothing against Luka, but, I'm a Mavs team collector. And there could be worse times to sell Luka cards probably than right now.
Does anyone care about the jersey switch? Like Mavs rookie cards, Lakers cards. Does anyone care about that?
Yeah.
Really?
That's going to be a big issue. Yeah. Yep. Yep. I think that's going to be a big issue. I think this definitely hurts. All we have basically is Luka rookie cards and Mavs jerseys. And I think this hurts those cards because I think Lakers collectors are not going to be thrilled to. They'll be happy on Luka rookie cards, but they're going to want Luka in Lakers jersey.
Lakers fans are not my favorite, but I will say they're very, very good at appreciating and respecting the Uber superstar. That's what they do best. They're used to it. They don't know ball as much. They don't know like the details of what you guys know as Mavs fans in terms of like the surrounding pieces, the X's and O's, the coaching, stuff like that. But they do know once you get that superstar in the building, this is our guy. So the Lakers fans are going to be like super excited about we've got another superstar and he's going to get all the. That's the part that's underestimated to me is the Mavs fans and the Mavs front office are like, let's just give up on our young superstar favorite player in the city. Let's just bail on that for Anthony Davis. Like nobody cares about Anthony Davis in Dallas.
Yeah, that's why I don't believe that's what happened.
Mavs fans are just rightfully super, upset about that aspect.
Yeah,
of it.
Upset and confused and blindsided and wait, man, like there was like a tweet like some 11-year-old kid is going to wake up on Sunday and read that Luka got traded and the Mavericks are his favorite team and Luka's his favorite player. And
those guys are just going to switch. Those kids are going to switch, right? Because I just assume kids were more Luka fans than Mavs fans, but maybe I'm underestimating how many Mavs fans there are out there.
I think I sent you that video that.
Yeah, he's laying in the ground with all of his Luka jerseys. Oh, here's another one. Is he going to switch to number 7?
No, he's already been announced that he's continuing with 77.
He likes 7 better.
He does, but somebody has it. I think like Gabe Vincent has it.
Who cares?
Luka wears 77 now on the Slovenian team.
Okay.
So yeah.
But the Mavs, he could have been 7, but he wasn't on purpose, right?
He didn't take 7 because Dwight Powell had it.
Yeah, that's not a reason.
But that's why.
One of the quotes I saw was, as a Mavs fan, why did I have to endure 2 years of Luka pick and roll with Dwight Powell just to have him traded away anyways?
That's a good take.
Because he was like waiting for them to build a big man roster around him, and they finally upgraded, and then they traded him.
Yeah.
Gabe Vincent is number 7. Who cares?
Yeah, I think it's good. It's good. It's good continuity for hobby jersey number collectors that he sticks with 77 too.
Okay. Yeah, sure. That makes sense. 77. See, now I have to start asking you questions about Luka.
Well, wait, before we move on, Maxey needs a new number because 42 is retired for. Oh my God! Stop it.
I love how this is the angle you've decided to take on Twitter, is collecting tears of Mavs fans.
It was unexpected, but I could not. I scrolled it for 4 hours, and there was still thousands more.
Where did they fucking find a coffin so quickly?
This is outside the arena?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I did see like a protest had started to break out.
But so Maxi Kleba is number 42 currently, and he plays 42 on the German league team as well. And James Worthy is a retired Lakers number at 42, so Kleba needs a new number. My German collector friends assure me that he's going to go with 14, which is open with the Lakers, but it'll be interesting to see what number he picks. Because I tried to make a custom jersey last night for a Lakers and order it quickly. And I quickly found out Worthy is retired, so I didn't want to order a 42 Kleba that he's never going to wear. So I'm waiting for that announcement.
So he's out for the year?
He's out for
He just had
6 months.
he just had surgery on his foot.
Ugh. This is the first time I've ever Googled Maxi Kleber.
Probably the last.
Maxi Kleber injury, yeah.
All right. We need to wrap this up because Christina and I got to go run an errand before the store closes. Any final thoughts?
I have way more thoughts, but we gotta split this up and we gotta go.
Yeah, there'll be time. There'll be time to say more things.
I'm surprised you guys jumped on the Lakers. There's a lot of people. This is my last thought. A lot of people are like, "I'll never root for the Lakers, even if my favorite player goes there." There was some of that, but you guys are not on that board. You guys are just like, I guess we're Lakers fans now.
Dude, I'm beyond ecstatic that Luka's on the Lakers. I'll just leave it at that.
You should hate Rob Pelinka immediately.
Oh, I'll ease into hating everybody. Don't worry about that.
He's terrible.
Yeah,
you're gonna hate him.
Yeah, Rob Lowe, you mean?
Yeah. Rob Lowe, Rob Pelinka. You're gonna hate Jackson Hayes immediately. He's the one we blame everything on. You gotta have the player you blame everything on. I'll start sending you their highlights.
Yeah. There's a few candidates. I could see myself getting really upset at Austin Reeves. He's not.
You're gonna hate Dalton.
He's not.
No, he's not. We like Austin Reeves.
Okay, we like Austin.
Because he's like the scrappy second round guy, that came out of nowhere. We gotta. Okay. He's like a bonus.
Okay. D'Lo was just such an obvious scapegoat.
Yeah, he's gone now.
Yeah. We have time to figure this out.
All right. See you guys.
All right.
CY Card Ladder is the most respected sports card analytics app on the market. We have virtually every card in our system. If the card you are looking for ever sold on one of these platforms, you can find it using Card Ladder's sales history. Easily find recent comps and get a better estimate what your cards are worth. CY Card Ladder is the most trusted and the most reliable sports card analytics app on the market. We know what you want, because Card Ladder was created by collectors for collectors. Join the innovators, not the imitators. Card Ladder, constantly innovating.